This is the 1720 GMT timed edition part B, starting at 1725 or thereabouts. KhoodeelaarTV Channel broadcasting under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo editions. KhoodeelaarTV Channel being broadcast only on the internet, not on satellite, not on terrestrial, not on cable. This is the extended update on the lunch with K. Jordan that I had with K. Jordan on the Thursday, 23rd of December 2010 at the Montefiore Centre off Brick Lane, London E1. And this one is concentrating on the corruption by the elected mayor, Lutfur Rahman, and the corruption in the council, Tower Hamlets Council, and corruption in Newham Council. And we shall be continuing on the theme. Now, this is the Khoodeelaar television channel broadcasting on the internet, and it's on the banner is Baby Angel Geronimo. The Baby Angel Geronimo has his home, let's say, in a place, in an area called South Gloucestershire. And his human mom is Helen MacDonald. And his original human mom, Leonie Walker, lives in New Zealand. And Leonie Walker misses Baby Angel Geronimo terribly. Back in New Zealand, Baby Angel Geronimo has his own grandchildren or grandson, at least one grandson. So we have to update on any extension to the family. Baby Angel Geronimo symbolizes everything that is truthful, that is true, that is compassionate, that is caring, that is kind, that is generous. Baby Angel Geronimo is a resident of a sphere. We could call this sphere that can be described as heaven, as paradise. And Baby Angel Geronimo is, in every respect, an epitome, personification of paradise and heaven and truthfulness and justice. Baby Angel Geronimo witnesses the daily depravity of the UK government agencies. Now, on Thursday night, on the Sky News press preview, a woman called Jenny Kleeman appeared. Now, Jenny Kleeman appeared as a commentator on the statement made by Ben Wallace, the Defense Secretary. But the point she made was that he was one of the better ones. He was one of the nicer ones, words to that effect. I'm not quoting her, but that is what she said. So Jenny Kleeman is, of course, a hireling. She's paid to follow the script on Sky News. She should not have said anything laudable about Ben Wallace. Because Ben Wallace is on the record as a liar during Afghan rescue disaster. And all the government ministers in the government in the UK have records of being liars. One of the worst liars in office has been the most depraved Secretary of State in the DEFRA department. And I'm not going to even name the criminal. There is a woman called Christian Evilness. Christian Evilness conspired for years to demonize, to defame, and to deny baby angel Geronimo. And Christian Evilness was complicit with the rest of the criminals in the DEFRA department, which was originally set up under the period of Tony Blair. It was bigger than it is now when it was set up by Tony Blair, and the main fronter in the DEFRA department was a pathetic criminal liar called John Prescott. The criminal liar Prescott is the one that was used by Tony Blair as an instrument to force the Tower Hamlets Council to hand over to a gang of criminals called Popla Harka, housing stock belonging to the public and in the market worth several billion pounds. Here is an example of how gigantic housing crisis is caused by local councils. And who? Not the Conservatives. The Tower Hamlets Council was not controlled by Conservatives, nor was the UK central government at the time controlled by the Conservatives. So there's Tony Blair and John the Evil Prescott. And who was the so-called local member of parliament, allegedly representing Tower Hamlets, Bethnal Green and Bow? Of course, it was Una King. And on the other constituency was the equally evil-doing Piss Patrick. So Tower Hamlets Council is corrupt, has been corrupt, and is doomed to remain corrupt, as are the Tower Hamlets members of parliament. The current ones, Afsana Begum and Roshana Ali, are two brazen liars, as is the embarrassment called Paula Manzila Uddin, who apparently still sits in the House of Peers, where she stole money. And Paula Manzila Uddin's criminality was connected with the criminality and criminal complicity and collusion by the Spitalfields Housing Association. Spitalfields Housing Association originally was set up as part of the movement that grew during the awareness raised by the communities witnessing the racist murder of Altawali. And the housing crisis was put in the actual spotlight, especially in 1978 when the then Conservatives controlled the Greater London Council. And the leader of the Conservative Greater London Council was a man called Horace Cutler. In the first Sunday of June 1978, the Observer published a stupid piece about housing crisis in Tower Hamlets. And a racist had his byline on it. So I called the Observer on the same day, and the racist refused to answer my questions. Now that was June 1978. I'm speaking from memory. The Observer is wrongly but very widely described as a liberal newspaper. But it is no less racist and no less ignorant than the Sunday Times or the Sunday Telegraph or the Sunday Express or the Mail on Sunday. Or at that time, the News of the World, which years later Rupert Dirty Digger Murdoch was forced to decommission. Scrap the News of the World, he did. Under mega publicity following the phone hacking perpetrated by News of the World and the scum, etc. And the hacking of a murdered teenage girl's telephone. Now, in the Fleet Street newspapers, there is no investigation into local councils. That is a fact. What there is partisan kind of comments and snide remarks published by the Murdoch papers, the Sun and the Times and Sunday Times, or by the Daily Mail group. But there is no objective, internationally objectively objective investigation into the role of local councils. And to this day, there has been no report anywhere in Fleet Street about how Tony Blair had John Prescott used as a thug to intimidate the then leaders of the Tower Hamlets Council. And they were forced to hand over the majority of the council housing stock to the crooks in Poplar Haque. When I appeared on television on the 14th of March 2018 against Robin Wales, at that date, in post as mayor of Newham for 16 years, continuously, I said that Newham, because of Wales and because of the corrupt mayor system, Newham Council was the most corrupt, unrepresentative, undemocratic council. The criminal liar Robin Wales completely misinterpreted what I said. And he said that I was meaning the people of Newham were undemocratic. How could I say that? And the presenter of that program, called Shoaib, missed the point. He completely didn't notice what was going on. So he didn't point out to Wales that he had got it wrong, because Shoaib didn't understand. Shoaib's cognitive backwardness and limitation made it impossible for Shoaib to even notice such a phenomenal fundamental question that was being mooted and debated between me and Robin Wales. Live on air on the satellite television channel called Channel I Europe. And this was an edition of the Straight Dialogue, as it was called. Now, Shoaib must make available to me all the editions of the Straight Dialogue that I took part in. I agreed to take part in. There are 10 conditions. One condition was that he would make those available to me, that he would not distort them, edit them, or make unlawful use of them at any time, at any stage. That I appeared without charging any fees did not mean that I could not charge fees and costs. And there are other 7 points. Now, Shoaib and that program whispered into me that he didn't want Robin Wales to know that he, Shoaib, was a member of a political party, the Conservatives. Now, that was Shoaib behaving expressly, brazenly, illegally. He whispered into me, which I had no part in. I had not solicited that information from Shoaib, and I would not endorse it. So Shoaib is liable for criminal prosecution because he broke the basic broadcasting laws there. And he therefore broke more than one Ofcom rules and regulations. Shoaib also had concealed from Robin Wales the fact that he, Shoaib, had contested election in Newham as a councillor candidate for the Conservative Party. That concealment too was illegal. Totally opposite to what Shoaib does and has done, I do the opposite. I go out of my way to transparently declare any interest, any records, which is exactly how it should be. So at that point, when I was accusing Robin Wales of being responsible for the most undemocratic council, local council in all of England, Shoaib completely missed the debate and he didn't follow up any of it. Therefore, Shoaib didn't know and cannot have known that Newham, of all the local English councils in England, boasts of something that is very unique. A unique connection with the founding leader of the Labour Party, Keir Hardie. All the statements that Shoaib makes, apparently trying to present a so-called discussion program, all the comments that he makes are falsified, false, untrue, untruthful. Why? Because he actually imitates other people and plagiarizes and steals from other people's work and never acknowledges the work of the other people he steals from. Now, with people like Shoaib presenting so-called ethnicity-linked media programs, what chance is there that those people who are supposed to be watching or consuming a program like that or a publication like that have any chance of getting to know the truth about what is going on within their own residential borough? There is no chance at all. One of the slots given to Rukhsana Fiaz just before the 2018 election, or was it just before this one, 2022, 5th of May election? One of the two elections, let's say. I shall check on the date and update accordingly. Was made available to Roxana Fiaz by a member of the Newham Council, a woman councillor of Bangladeshi connections. This woman is married to a man from Bangladesh who has a slot, who has a outlet. And Roxana Fiaz was given unrestrained, unlimited space to propagate herself and her cause. No opposition was allowed. No right to reply was allowed to the voters, to the viewers. That was done because the councillor woman wanted Rukhsana Fiaz to treat her, that particular councillor, with kid gloves, with favor. Now that is corruption on the record. Now, Rukhsana Fiaz spoke at an event on the 17th of December, held at the Stratford Library, apparently organized by the outlet called Newham Voices, introduced by a former member of the International Federation of Journalists operating in Europe called Adrian White. That was 17th of December 2022. The event was advertised or publicized or described in advance as an event for the supporters of Newham Voices. Now, Newham, by all statistics and all indices, contains per capita proportionately one of the largest numbers of people in deprivation, in housing problems. By definition, therefore, such a demography deserves to be served by a newspaper or a news service or a news platform, which on the face of it, people would think Newham Voices was. But in his speech, Adrian White said that he didn't want to publish too much grim news, too much news or comment about homelessness, about deprivation. Can you believe that? This is Adrian White. And Roxana Fayaz could not have expected a more pliant contribution. She was there. Not only was she there as a member of the audience, but she was there as the person who was given the honor by Adrian White to hand out certificates of achievements to members of the Newham Voices. None of this was advertised or publicized in advance in the statement inviting people to go to that meeting. So it was an event organized for Roxana Fayaz by Adrian White. This corruption of everything that can be found in the so-called media corruption. The Newham Recorder, which had been established about 45 years ago by Tom Duncan, Newham Recorder has practically disappeared. It has got no news, it has got no pages. And Tom Duncan was the only editor that was sanctioned in the severest possible way by the National Union of Journalists because of Tom Duncan's incitement of racism in Newham. And there was no discussion. When it came to the discussion phase of the meeting on the 17th of December 2022, the only person who attempted to make any discussion point was me. And I was jumped on by about 10 people speaking at the same time, saying that I should not be speaking. Think about that. That name, Newham Voices. The only voice that was attempted to be raised by me was being silenced by Adrian White and his cronies. And by that time, of course, Roxana Fayaz had departed. She must have gone to another event, photo call and whatever. We shall be continuing in the next edition. This is just under half an hour, I think, this program, this edition. So we shall be continuing in the next edition.